Ripclaw and Wolverine. Ripclaw is one of the founding members of Cyberforce, a superhero team from Image Comics created by Mark Silvestri. His real name is Robert Bearclaw, later changed to Robert Beresford, a Native American warrior who spent years working as an assassin before his life was completely turned upside down. A powerful corporation called Cyberdata kidnapped him, experimented on him, and rebuilt much of his body with cybernetic technology. Once he broke free from their control, he joined Cyberforce and dedicated himself to stopping the very people who created him. Even though he looks intimidating, Ripclaw usually acts as one of the team's most loyal protectors, balancing his violent side with a deep respect for his heritage and spiritual beliefs. The similarities between Ripclaw and Wolverine are impossible to miss. Both characters are fierce close-range fighters with razor-sharp metal claws, incredible healing abilities, and a tendency to lose themselves in brutal, animal-like combat. The biggest difference comes from where these powers originate. Wolverine was born a mutant, while Ripclaw's claws and enhanced body came from painful, cybernetic experiments that permanently transformed him. As Cyberforce grew beyond its early years, Ripclaw started craving out his own identity. His Native American background became a major focus, introducing spiritual abilities like astral projection, mystical visions, and connections to animal spirits that gave him a personality and mythology very different from Marvel's famous mutant. He first appeared in Cyberforce issue 1 in 1993, right in the middle of Image Comics' explosive rise during the 90s. He quickly became one of the team's most recognizable characters and appeared in dozens of Cyberforce series, spin-offs, and crossover events over the years. Since Mark Silvestri's studio later partnered with Marvel on several occasions, Ripclaw even crossed paths with the X-Men in crossover comics, creating the serial sight of a Wolverine-inspired hero fighting alongside the actual Wolverine. Those appearances only fueled the comparisons between the two characters and became fan-favorite moments for comic readers. Yes, he may have started life wearing his Wolverine influences on his sleeve, but years of storytelling helped him grow into something much more memorable. His cybernetic upgrades, tribal roots, spiritual journey, and role as Cyberforce's seasoned warrior all gave him a distinct identity that separated him from the character who inspired him. Homelander and Superman. Homelander is the face of the Seven, the world's most famous superhero team in the universe of The Boys. To the public, he's everything a superhero should be: charming, patriotic, unstoppable, and always ready to save the day. Every interview, commercial, and rescue is carefully crafted to make him look like the perfect American hero. Behind closed doors though, it's a completely different story. Homelander is arrogant, manipulative, and terrifyingly unstable, treating almost everyone around him as beneath him. And since almost nothing can actually hurt him, he lives with the mindset that the entire world belongs to him. Homelander was created as a direct parody of Superman, borrowing nearly everything people instantly recognize about the Man of Steel. He can fly across the sky, lift impossible amounts of weights, shrug off bullets, fire heat visions from his eyes, and see through walls. Even his public image follows the same blueprint. The bright cape, clean-cut appearance, and heroic smile are all designed to make people feel safe the moment they see him. Vought, the company behind the Seven, even invents an origin story claiming Homelander arrived on Earth as a baby from another world and was raised by a loving family in rural America, a story that's almost identical to Superman's famous beginning. The reality couldn't be more different. Homelander never had a normal childhood or a caring family. Instead, he was created by Vought after being injected by Compound V before birth and spent his early years inside a laboratory where scientists treated him more like a science experiment than a child. Growing up without love, affection, or real human connection left him emotionally broken, despite all his incredible powers, and rather than becoming someone people could genuinely look up to, he learned to see fear as the easiest way to control others, making him one of the most dangerous people on the planet. One of the biggest reasons Homelander became such an iconic character is because he flipped Superman's greatest qualities upside down, and because of Tony Stark. Superman's powers come with responsibility, compassion, and self-control, while Homelander sees his abilities as proof that nobody should ever tell him what to do, and that contrast turned him into one of the most memorable comic book villains of the last 2 decades. Thanks to the massive success of The Boys comics and the Amazon adaptation, Homelander has become the modern face of the evil Superman concept, inspiring countless discussions about what unlimited power might look like in the hands of the wrong person. Pitt and the Hulk. Pitch is one of Image Comics' biggest powerhouses, created by legendary Hulk artist Dale Keown in 1993. Standing nearly 9 feet tall, with grey skin, a massive frame, and a permanently intimidating look, Pitch was genetically engineered by an alien race called the Kree to become the ultimate living weapon. Despite being built for destruction, he eventually escapes that life and ends up protecting a young boy named Timmy, who later turns out to have a much deeper connection to him than anyone expected. Underneath all the muscles and rage, Pitch spends much of the series trying to figure out who he really is and where he belongs. The similarities between Pitch and the Hulk aren't exactly subtle. That makes sense considering Dale had just finished one of the most beloved runs of the Incredible Hulk before creating Pitch. Both characters are enormous, grey-skinned giants capable of tearing through almost anything that stands in their way. Their fights usually end with buildings collapsing, armies getting flattened, and enemies wondering how something that big can move so fast. Even their personalities share a familiar struggle, with both constantly wrestling against the violent instincts that come with their incredible strength. As the story moves forward, Pitch becomes much more than a walking tank. His relationship with Timmy gives him a reason to keep fighting, adding an emotional side that balances out all the explosive action. Instead of blindly following the purpose he was created for, Pitch slowly develops his own sense of right and wrong, choosing to protect innocent people rather than destroy them. That ongoing battle between his monstrous nature and his humanity became one of the defining themes of the series, and helped separate him from simply being another super strong brute. Pitch quickly became one of Image Comics' breakout stars. The series earned a loyal fanbase thanks to Dale's incredible detailed artwork and over-the-top action scenes, with Pitch taking on giant monsters, alien armies, and other powerful beings. The connection to the Hulk became so well known that Marvel eventually teamed up with Image for the crossover Hulk Pitch in 1997, finally letting two great giants battle each other on the page. Nemesis and Batman. Nemesis is one of the most dangerous villains ever, created by Mark Millar and Steve McNiven. Introduced in 2010, he's an insanely wealthy genius who spends his fortune traveling the world, pulling off impossible crimes, and turning the lives of elite police officers into living nightmares. Every attack is carefully planned, months in advance, with elaborate traps, advanced technology, and backup plans for almost every situation. Rather than robbing banks or chasing world domination, Nemesis treats crime like a game, choosing the smartest law enforcement officers on the planet and seeing how completely he can destroy them. Just like Bruce, Nemesis is a billionaire with no superpowers who pushed himself to the absolute peak of human ability. He mastered martial arts, trained with experts around the world, became a tactical genius, and filled his arsenal with cutting-edge gadgets, armored vehicles, and specialized weapons. The biggest visual clue is his costume. Batman dresses in black to become a creature of the night, while Nemesis wears an all-white suit, making him feel like the complete opposite from the moment he steps onto the page. Mark Millar has even described the character with a simple idea: what if Batman was evil? He takes almost every part of Batman's formula and twists it into something sinister. Batman uses his wealth to protect innocent people, while Nemesis burns through his fortune, creating bigger and deadlier ways to spread chaos. Batman works alongside honest police officers like Commissioner Gordon, but Nemesis makes police chiefs his favorite victims, carefully ruining their careers, families, and lives before moving in for the final blow. Even the years of training that made Batman one of the world's greatest heroes become the very tools Nemesis uses to become one of its greatest monsters. The original Nemesis miniseries became one of Mark Millar's biggest creator-owned hits, thanks to its over-the-top action, shocking violence, and Steve McNiven's detailed artwork. The character quickly gained a reputation as one of comics' most memorable evil Batman figures because the inspiration was never hidden. It was the entire point. Over the years, Nemesis returned in several follow-up series that expanded his story and made him even more unpredictable. Among comic fans, he's still one of the clearest examples of taking a legendary superhero, flipping every heroic quality upside down, and building an unforgettable villain around that single idea. Hunt and Venom. Hunt is the star of Image Comics' supernatural series created by Robert Kirkman and Todd McFarlane. The story follows two brothers who couldn't be more different. Daniel Kilgore is a troubled priest trying to live a quiet life, while Kurt Kilgore is a secret agent who dies during a mission. After Kurt's death, his ghost finds a way to connect with Daniel, and the two accidentally merge into a single being called Hunt. Together they gain an eerie white and black ectoplasmic suit that transforms them into a powerful supernatural hero, forcing the brothers to put their constant arguments aside whenever danger shows up. The influence of Venom is immediately obvious. Hunt's living suit moves almost exactly like a symbiote, stretching and reshaping itself into tendrils, spikes, blades, and long whip-like extensions during fights. The glowing eyes, monstrous grin, and fluid black and white design also feel like a clear nod to Todd McFarlane's iconic artwork on Venom back in the late 80s and early 90s. Even the powers line up in familiar ways, with Hunt gaining incredible strength, rapid healing, enhanced agility, wall-crawling abilities, and organic web-like constructs that can be used for movement or combat. And since both brothers exist inside the same body, they are constantly talking, arguing, and trying to influence each other's decision. Kurt brings the experience of a trained soldier, while Daniel provides the physical body and moral compass. And that shared existence gives Hunt a dynamic that feels similar to the relationship between Eddie Brock and the Venom symbiote, where two very different personalities have to work together despite rarely agreeing on anything. The result is a hero who's just as unpredictable in conversation as he is in battle. Hunt debuted in 2009 and quickly attracted attention because it reunited two of comics' biggest names. Robert Kirkman handled the early writing, while Todd McFarlane designed the character and helped shape the series' visual identity. Fans immediately noticed the similarities to Venom, especially since McFarlane had played such a huge role in creating Venom's classic look decades earlier. Even with those familiar influences, Hunt craved out his own place through his ghostly origins, horror themes, and the unique brotherly relationship at the heart of the story. Glory and Wonder Woman. Glory is a powerhouse superheroine who first appeared in 1993 after being created by Rob Liefeld. Her real name is Gloriana Demeter, and she comes from a world where mythological warriors and demons constantly clash. Born to an Amazon mother and a demon father, Glory inherited incredible strength, speed, durability, and an almost immortal body, making her one of the strongest heroes in the Image universe. Her stories often revolve around balancing her Amazon heritage with the darker side of her family, leading to massive battles against monsters, gods, and supernatural threats. Like Diana, Glory is an Amazon warrior raised far away from ordinary civilization before eventually stepping into the human world. She possesses incredible combat skills, superhuman strength, and a strong sense of honor that comes from her upbringing among legendary female warriors. Her adventures are deeply rooted in mythology, with ancient gods, magical weapons, and mythical creatures playing a huge role in her stories. The overall idea of an Amazon champion protecting humanity clearly comes from the same foundation that made Wonder Woman one of DC's greatest heroes. As the years went on, Glory's world expanded far beyond its original inspiration. Her demonic ancestry became one of the biggest parts of her character, creating constant conflict between her noble side and the destructive bloodline she inherited from her father. During Alan Moore's acclaimed run on the series, the mythology surrounding Glory grew much richer, introducing supporting characters and story elements that playfully echoed Wonder Woman's cast, including a love interest named Trevor Tracy. Glory became one of these standout heroes from the early Image Comics era, especially among fans of larger-than-life fantasy action. And while many readers initially recognized the similarities to Wonder Woman, later writers transformed her into a much more unique character with brutal battles, horror-inspired mythology, and cosmic-scale adventures. X-O-Manowar and Iron Man. He is one of Valiant Comics' most iconic heroes. His real name is Eric of Dacia, a Visigoth warrior living during the 5th century who is abducted by an alien race known as the Vine. While imprisoned aboard their massive spacecraft, Eric manages to escape by claiming Shannara, the most powerful suit of alien armor ever created. With living armor bonded to him, he returns to Earth, carrying technology centuries beyond anything humanity has ever seen. Even though he's surrounded by futuristic weapons and advanced civilizations, Eric still thinks like an ancient warrior, solving problems with courage, determination, and a sword whenever possible. Both him and Iron Man rely on an incredibly advanced suit of armor that gives them abilities far beyond normal humans, including flight, energy blast, super strength, and nearly indestructible protection. Their stories also begin in surprisingly similar ways. Tony Stark builds his first armor while being held captive, and Eric escapes alien imprisonment by taking control of the Vine's greatest weapon. Once free, both men use the very technology that once trapped them to defend Earth from powerful enemies. Tony Stark constantly upgrades his suit with new gadgets and engineering breakthroughs, treating each version as another invention to improve. Eric's armor is actually alive. It can think, communicate, make decisions, and even refuse requests if it believes they are a bad idea. Instead of simply putting on a suit, Eric forms a partnership with a sentient alien being that grows stronger over time. And that relationship gives his stories a unique dynamic, especially since a battle-hardened barbarian and an incredibly intelligent alien suit don't always see eye to eye. Exo Manowar first appeared in 1992, created by Jim Shooter, Bob Layton, and Barry Windsor Smith. He quickly became Valiant's flagship character and remains one of the publisher's biggest stars today. Over the years, he has fought alien invasions, ancient gods, world-ending threats, and even crossed paths with Iron Man in the 1996 video game Iron Man and Exo Manowar in Heavy Metal. While the armored hero concept clearly helped inspire his creation, Exo Manowar built a lasting reputation by mixing science fiction, fantasy, and medieval warfare into something that feels completely his own. Invincible and Spider-Man. Invincible is the superhero identity of Mark Grayson, the main character of Image Comics' hit series created by Robert Kirkman and Cory Walker. Mark is an ordinary teenager until, at 17, he finally inherits the incredible powers of his fathers, the world's greatest hero. Overnight, his life becomes a balancing act between saving the planet, surviving high school, keeping up with friends, and figuring out what kind of hero he wants to become. As the series progresses, those everyday problems grow into massive intergalactic wars, turning Mark from an inexperienced kid into one of the most powerful heroes in comics. While Mark's powers are much closer to Superman, his personality and everyday life take a lot of inspiration from Spider-Man. Like Peter Parker, Mark spends his early adventures rushing between superhero emergencies, school family dinners, relationships, and homework, usually feeling like he's failing at least one of them. He's constantly making mistakes, learning difficult lessons, and trying to do the right thing even when everything seems to be falling apart. That relatable teenage perspective gives Invincible the same kind of energy that made Spider-Man so popular in the first place. Neither Mark or Peter starts out as the perfect hero. Every major battle teaches Mark something new, whether it's dealing with guilt, accepting responsibility, or living with the consequences of his decisions. He jokes around during fights, worries about his family, and reacts to unbelievable situations like a normal teenager would. Robert Kirkman has often described Invincible as a superhero coming-of-age story, and that focus on watching a young hero mature over time feels very much in line with Spider-Man's earliest adventures. And Robert even had the chance to write both characters together in Marvel Team Up issue 14, where Mark officially teamed up with Spider-Man in a crossover that celebrated their similarities. Years later, the animated series included the legally distinct Agent Spider as a fun nod to that crossover. Although Invincible's powers come from his alien heritage, the heart of the character has always been his relatable struggles, optimistic attitude, and awkward teenage life, qualities that have made Spider-Man an icon for generations. The Deep and Aquaman and Namor. The Deep is one of the members of the Seven. Created by Garth Ennis and Derek Robertson, Kevin has all the powers you'd expect from an ocean-themed superhero. He can breathe underwater, swim at incredible speeds, survive the crushing pressure of the deep ocean, and communicate with sea life. On paper, he sounds like one of the most impressive heroes around. In reality, he's constantly ignored, humiliated, and treated as the least important member of the team, making him one of the series' biggest sources of dark comedy. The Deep combines traits from both Aquaman and Namor. His powers are almost identical to theirs, especially his abilities to command and communicate with the marine life. Visually, his superhero costume follows the classic King of the Seas look, with sleek armor, ocean-inspired colors, and a design that immediately reminds readers of Aquaman and Namor. His personality also borrows from Namor's confidence and larger-than-life ego, although the Deep rarely has the strength of character to back up his bravado. For years, people mocked Aquaman by saying his only real talent was talking to fish, and the Deep leans into that stereotype as hard as possible. He often has full conversations with dolphins, octopuses, whales, and other sea creatures, treating them like close friends, while everyone around him finds the whole thing ridiculous. Instead of commanding respect as the ruler of the oceans, he usually ends up embarrassing himself, failing hard, or becoming the latest victim of Vought's corporate image machine. The Deep appeared in the original The Boys comics, but his popularity exploded after the Amazon adaptation, where Chase Crawford turned him into one of the show's most memorable characters. The live-action version expanded his role significantly, giving him a strange mix of comedy, insecurity, and occasional sympathy that wasn't as prominent in the comics.